Things got a little bit out of hand with my 1/72nd scale World War I Warbirds project, which began last summer out here in Portland, Oregon. I needed something to pass the time, and I figured I didn't want to get bogged down with really complicated models. So I would buy a bunch of the simple, easy to construct 1/72nd scale World War I planes that Revell had produced in the mid-60s. I didn't even intend to paint them, probably for the reason that I didn't have any of my paints with me. But I figured I'd put them together and stick them on the shelf, or more appropriately, a serving tray. But of course things escalated. And now I'm sort of at the end of the road. So not in chronological order of when I built these, let's take a run through of the little planes that I built over the last 11 months. Starting with one of the best, the Ravel Albatross D3, and it's in the livery that Werner Voss flew the plane in. And it's just a wonderful little kit, went together really well. And of course I had decided early on that putting them together was not going to be enough. I was going to paint them. And this probably came out as my best hand-painted job. I was really pleased. I had a bunch of rigging wire, and I decided that I wasn't going to use flexible easy line. I would pop the wire in place. That turned out really well. So here was one of my successes. Felt really good about this plane. And I think it's one of the better looking planes of the war, of the German side, and happy with the little Revell kit. Well, this is one I profiled just the other day. It's the second Se5a, also a Revell kit that I made because I wasn't really happy with the first one. And at this point I decided I was going to airbrush. So all I'm going to say is Revell makes wonderful kits. I really haven't complained with any of the little airplanes that they put together as sold as kits. And I'm particularly happy about this one because, as I've probably stated many times, it's my favorite Allied aircraft of the Great War. Now, my second favorite Allied aircraft of the Great War is the Sopwith triplane. And I didn't even know that Revell made this one until I did a double check on ScaleMates. Sure enough, they made a triplane. So I went out on eBay, and for, I don't know, $9 or $10 plus a couple dollars handling shipping fee, I got this plane. And again, very pleased with the quality of the plane. You know, they're only about 20 pieces, but it fit together so nicely. The rigging wire worked well, and I was very happy. Now, in contrast, Revell didn't make them all. And at this point, I did know better. This is a Roden kit, and Roden kits in 1/48th and 1/32nd scale are okay. But the one thing that they all suffer from is the company used really soft styrene plastic. And that just creates all sorts of issues with assembly, even for a few parts. These Roden kits actually have more pieces than the Revell, but they're not well crafted. Some of the struts and the spars are really, really thin. And let me tell you, trying to get them off the runners is a nightmare, even with a great pair of clippers. So there are little stubs on most of my Roden kits in terms of where little stubs and tabs, because trying to trim them off, you've got about a 75% chance of snapping the spar in half, even if you're of surgeon caliber with an X-Acto knife. I've already proved I'm not. Well, this is the one plane I have not rigged. Frankly, this is an Albatross D2, and I don't know what to say other than I finished it, and it's over on the corner. But I didn't hide it. It's got a good pilot, aftermarket pilot that I put in. But I did not, I did not spray paint this or airbrush it. It's hand painted, and it shows, especially on the wooden fuselage. This one is not Ravel. This is an Eduard 1/72 kit. And for those people who follow the Great War and know something about Fokker triplanes, yes, this is indeed in the livery of Werner Voss. Of course, I had this Voss Albatross, so I was going to do the Voss triplane. And the lovely finish is really due to these great aftermarket decals from Aviatik, which produce the streaked German camouflage effect that the original triplanes were in, before they started making them quite gaudy in the spring of 1918. Here's a Revell Sopwith camel. Lovely little plane. The cabane struts are actually too big, too high, and so therefore the wing struts are too high. But I didn't adjust or trim them. I built it as it was. I like the look of it. This is hand painted. Touched it up with some oil paint wash later on. It's got really old decals on, but they did set in place. And it's in the livery of Roy Brown, the Canadian pilot, who was credited with shooting down the Red Baron. Another Roden kit, another real soft plastic. This is a false D3. I left it in silver because it was easy to paint. This one is all akimbo in terms of alignment. Maybe you can actually see that, but it is what it is. My favorite French plane. I really have a thing for this, and I've just noticed that somewhere the Lewis machine gun on the top of the plane has gone missing. I wonder where that fell off. Well, I guess we're going to have to fix that at some point. My goodness. But it was another lovely little Revell kit, Newport 11 Bebe. And here was the first Revell Se5a. Actually, in this light, it looks pretty good. But this one I hand painted. And if it were to have really close scrutiny, you might see why I decided to do a redo. And I don't mind, because I love the Se5a, so I'm willing to make a lot of them, even duplicates. The Spad 13, this one came out pretty well, hand-painted, another Revell kit, and it's in the colors of, who was this? Well, I think it might be Frank Luke's plane, but I'm not sure. It's American Aero Squadron plane. And over here, yes, yet another Roden kit. This, I think, was the first one I did. And you might notice that it's got an amazing dihedral to it. It's another Albatross D3. That shouldn't be there. On the other hand, the red color worked out okay. But, the wire rigging set in real nicely. So the big issue is I've filled up my tray. And I really don't have any more room. Yeah, I could just set everything on the coffee table here. But I've got a stack of much larger planes to build. So put this in the category of yet another of my first world problems. And that's the end of this project, with the exception of figuring out how to squeeze a Newport 28 that's on the workbench. I guess I'll shove everything over and then it'll end up in that part of the ocean there. Okay, that's it for the collection.